Well, good morning. It's still morning. It's 11:30. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. As we kick this off, again, we appreciate you being here today. We miss meeting everybody in person. That's the one thing as a chamber that we've struggled over the last 5 months, almost 6 months now, just seeing people in person. So we do appreciate the opportunity to gather virtually here today. We get to have one of our closest partners at the chamber, Rod Welker, today, who is going to talk about thriving through change. And that's one consistent thing that I think both businesses and then obviously even individuals, personally and professionally, we've seen a lot of change in our own personal life and our professional life. And Rod is here to cover kind of some ideas, some suggestions on how to thrive during this uncertainty and time of change. We want to thank our dedicated sponsors of the Young Professionals, the Commercial and Savings Bank, and Critchfield and Johnson. Thank you so much for your continued support of not only the Young Professionals, but the Chamber as well, and we really appreciate it. So without further ado, a couple of, I guess, housekeeping things. If you have questions, go ahead and obviously put those in the chat. This is hopefully not the very first Zoom you've ever done. We will be monitoring those questions and making sure that Rod has those so he can answer at the end. And then, Rod, do you want to do anything live if someone has a burning question they want to?
Yeah, I'm open to that.
Okay. And then everybody is muted. You should have the ability to unmute if you have a question that right off the bat, if he hits something, strikes a chord and you have a question, feel free to ask that live. So without further ado, Rod Welker, who will be covering Thriving Through Change. Thank you, folks.
Thanks, Justin, and good morning, everybody. If you want, feel free to turn on the video. For me, it's kind of a nice thing to be able to see some faces, but obviously if you prefer not to, that's okay as well. But feel free if you want to turn on your videos. Mr. Don Noble, how y'all doing? Miss Ashley. So yeah, that's kind of nice to see some faces. We may have other people joining us, so we will welcome them. But I literally am going to do this in about 30 minutes or so, give you some time for questions. Use that chat box for sure. If you want to just ask or pose a question live, that's fine as well. But we're going to be talking about change, obviously, thriving through change. And for those of you that know, I have a lot of content, so I'm going to ask that you have some paper, some writing instrument handy, and get ready to take tons of notes. And I'll try to review and do some outlines for you to make this run smoothly. But again, thank you for being here. So I'm going to answer the first question, and that is, what does it mean to thrive? Definitionally, what does to thrive mean? And so simply to grow, to develop, even flourish, and prosper. Now, I want you to close your eyes. I know that's kind of weird, but I'm the only one that's watching. So close your eyes. I want you to think about this as we kind of introduce thriving through change. How do you typically deal with change? How are you experiencing the craziness, all the change associated with 2020? When change is all around you, both personally and professionally, do you immediately look forward to the opportunities to grow, develop, and flourish? If you answered no, don't feel bad. You are not alone. In fact, the vast majority of people do not see change through the lens of thriving. And so what I want you to hear from me is my intention is not to make you feel even worse, or to shame, or to add guilt to the feelings that you may be having already. Instead, I want to share with you some thoughts and ideas, and even some strategies to help you, to support you through the journey of change. I hope to give you a different perspective of how you can view change in a different way, and to consider the real possibility that yes, you can indeed thrive through change. Okay, open up your eyes, because any longer than that, you'll be falling asleep. So first off, thriving Thriving is not jumping up and down with glee every time we're faced with a change. That's not what thriving is. In fact, to grow, to develop, oftentimes, despite the circumstances, despite and because of the circumstances, we rise above to thriving through change. So, entering into this conversation for the next 30 minutes, I really am asking you for an open mind. I want you to consider that however you've been dealing with change to this point, it can be different. And yes, you can, in fact, thrive. So, here we go. We know that changing is the most consistent reality. Change, right? Managing change, even thriving through change, is one of the biggest hurdles for some of us as professionals and individuals. Yet, it is highly sought after by employers, even by your associates. So, how do you think about change when it started negatively? That's your first thought, like, I don't think I can do this. Maybe it's a change that was thrust upon you. You didn't initiate it. You were kind of forced into it. And you had those negative thoughts initially. But after it was all said and done, as you look back, you start now thinking more positively and the positive impact that it had on your life. So the very first strategy, I'm going to share with you 5 strategies. The very first strategy is to have a change success story. We all have had a change in our lives that at first we looked at it negatively, but now can see that positive impact. So those past experiences of change, what I want you to do is literally write down a story or a couple of stories that you went through from negative to now seeing the positive. And I know it may seem somewhat silly, but to literally have those in writing will prove helpful to you as you face the next change. So in writing, what do I mean? Well, literally write it down. You can abbreviate some of the details for sure, but give that story a title. So every time you see that title, you are reminded of that change success story. Secondly, if you're a visual person, create an image around that change success story. Maybe it's a photo of what that change represents, or something that just is a visual image to remind you of that change success story. Now, we also know that fear is a common negative feeling that's associated with change. So I want to share the 4 most common fears that we think of or feel through change. First, the fear of failure or being inadequate, not prepared, not ready. The second, the fear of the unknown or unfamiliar or uncertainty. And for some of us, even ambiguity would fit with that fear. The third common fear, leaving your comfort zone. Now we know that the comfort zone is in a center. You probably have seen that image where it's the bullseye, and the ring right outside of that is a stretch zone. And then outside of that ring is the panic zone. And for some of us, we go right from the comfort zone immediately to the panic zone. Some of us will feel threatened with change. And the fourth common fear is just not being in control. And maybe that's where you are today with everything that's happening with the pandemic. But to counter fear, I want you to examine this reality more often than not. Fear can stand for false expectations appearing real. F-E-A-R. False expectations appearing real. What we often fear is not reality. So, the second strategy is to be aware of what you're telling yourself and start talking back. So the first strategy is have a change success story, and the second is talk back to your thoughts. Now, it starts with challenging your thoughts, chipping away at them, proving them wrong just a little bit at a time. Now, for some of you, you've had me share before and you've heard me before, and you know how big I am on the whole neuroscience and the power of the mind. Research is plentiful regarding the importance of how we think leads to how we feel, and then ultimately how we act. So to change how we act during change, or to change how we even feel about change, we need to consider what we are thinking regarding the change. Self-sabotage associated with change begins in the mind. So talk back to your thoughts. Thoughts of self-doubt or fear or anything else that's negatively affecting how you feel. So remember this: think, feel, act. It starts in the mind. Third strategy: adopt an agile mindset. So, how do we do that? What is an agile mindset? Well, we cultivate this idea of agility, adaptability, being flexible. So there are 6 ways that we can adopt an agile mindset. Number 1, you literally can choose to be more flexible. Choose to be more agile or adaptable. It's a choice. And literally for me, that may mean to verbalize it. Literally say it out loud. I choose, in this situation, facing these circumstances, I choose to be agile, flexible, adaptable. Second, focus on the learning rather than the achievement. So the idea of embracing just trying new things, the learning process, it's okay, first of all, to know that you may not get it right from the beginning. And it may take you longer than somebody else. But to focus on the learning rather than the achievement. Third, enjoy the process. Meaning, learn to enjoy the awkwardness. So I'm going to pause here and kind of give you an idea. Let's say I wanted to learn a new language. Now, if I saw my achievement being I want to become bilingual, and going through the process and learning a new language, I could get incredibly frustrated, because for me to become bilingual, probably almost impossible. And if I were to say something in Spanish, and I would compare how I say it to someone that literally speaks Spanish, it's going to sound weird, awkward, not exactly right. Now, I'm fortunate, I can roll my R's, which is kind of a cool thing, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be able to speak Spanish, first of all, fluently, second of all, to where it sounds just like, say, I was from Mexico or some other Hispanic-speaking country. So this idea of focusing on the learning one phrase at a time, not worrying about that achievement, knowing that what it sounds like to others, it'll sound a little bit off. When I have enjoyed some international travel, what I have found to be true is those from that particular country actually appreciate the effort that I put forth in trying to speak their language. They know it's not going to sound right or just perfect, but that appreciation is because I was trying to learn, and I know it doesn't sound right, it's a little awkward, but it is appreciated. So back to our 6 ways to how we adopt the agile mindset. Choosing is number 1, to be agile. Focus on learning, number 2. Enjoying the process, number 3. And here's number 4. Reframe your problems. Now, we've heard this before. It's, in fact, kind of a cliche, not problems, but opportunities or challenges. Well, I want to introduce a different word, the word chance. So for those of you who know me, I do like stupid humor, and so I have to think of this particular movie line, and you already know what movie line I'm talking about. So you say, I got a chance. Yes, from my favorite Dumb and Dumber movie, yes. The idea of a chance, like there's a chance this could be a good thing for me. There's a chance that I may actually, this could be a positive impact, or that I may grow because of this change. Now, you're right, already thinking there's a chance that it could blow up. But just the idea that there is a chance, and you tell yourself there's a chance that this could be a good thing, can be powerful. Number 5, do the opposite. Now you're like, what? So if you typically do certain things, think certain things, feel certain things with change, literally do the opposite. What everybody's expecting you to do the opposite. Anything from your normal response to change, do the opposite. And then finally, and this is an important one, find a trusted colleague to help you through the journey. All that to adopt the agile mindset. Now, the 4th strategy, move beyond accept the change to embrace the change. The question, is it possible to not just accept it, but to get to a place where we could literally embrace the change? Wouldn't this get us closer to the reality of thriving through change? And of course, the answer is yes, but how? So, got a few steps to share with you as to how you can get beyond this idea of accepting to embracing change. First, begin with the mindset that you will thrive, you can and will embrace the new. Second, not only see the vision, but adopt the vision. Oftentimes when somebody's introducing a change, they have a picture in mind as what this change could produce. Try to really lean in to that vision and make it your own. Be curious how this new vision could really be better for you or you and your team. Third, fight the tendency of denial. The reality is, it's futile, right? The change is here. Why fight it? So seeing that change as that opportunity, we want to think about it in a transformational way. So instead of denying, welcome the change. Even thank the person for this opportunity. So that's going to require probably some excitement that you may have to somehow conjure up. But there are some possibilities of what this new may offer. So fight that denial, get to welcome it, build some excitement. 4, see yourself as capable. This goes back to reminding yourself of past successes. And then 5, acknowledge that there may be some pain, some loss, maybe even some setbacks along the way, but don't dwell on it. Just accept it. So this is the one thing I do say, accept. 6, get your mind going on something positive, seeing options, seeing ways of making this new opportunity work. More energy, more excitement. 2 more, 7, find others to be an encouragement, but avoid those that wallow or hold you back because they are not helping, they are hurting you. And then 8, start doing something. Take a step, take action, even a small step in the direction of this opportunity. So I'm going to review under this 4th strategy of moving beyond accepting to embracing. 1, tell yourself you will thrive. 2, adopt the vision, make it your own. 3, don't deny the change, but welcome the opportunity. 4, see yourself as adaptable and flexible. Go to that change success story. 5, accept the pain, but embrace the change. 6, think positively and have a positive attitude. 7, I love this, get a change partner. And then finally, 8, take action, even just one step. Which leads me to the 5th strategy, and that is to become a change agent. Now, interestingly, for some of you, becoming a change agent is just the opposite of what you would typically do. So you're already fulfilling one of the strategies. So what is a change agent? Well, obviously, a change agent can be someone that is initiating change. You know, what is it around your place of business, at your organization, or even in your life that you're not satisfied? You want a difference. You need a change. Be a change agent and initiate that change. Make suggestions. Have conversations. But it also is supporting someone else's change, even if it's not your own. And in fact, if the change is not your own, how can you help make that transition smooth? That's what a change agent does. And then finally, communicate positively with others regarding the change. Instead of those sidebar conversations, people coming into your cube or your office and say, can you believe what they're asking us to do? A change agent would say, well, you know, there's a chance this could be a good thing. So what are some characteristics of a great change agent? I'm just going to list a couple of these so you can kind of get an idea. Some of these characteristics you already possess, so you're well on your way in becoming a change agent. Being collaborative, being positive, an idea generator, good communicator, thoughtful listener, and devoted to continual improvement, and you possess a growth mindset. Those are all characteristics of a great change agent. And when you decide to become that change agent, I'm telling you, you will benefit not only yourself, but your team and your organization. So there's an affirmation that I have come across that I think is kind of a cool way of thinking about maybe differently for you change. So I'm going to read this to you. It's kind of a quote, something that maybe you could consider adopting for yourself. I accept that constant change is simply a part of life. I am continually exploring new ideas, new directions, new philosophies, new technologies, and new ways of thinking about my future. I am working to incorporate these ideas into both my personal life and my professional life. Now that's a pretty cool affirmation. Once you kind of embrace, accept, and adopt that for your very own, then you obviously begin to thrive through change. Now, if you want, I'll be happy to send, and you can either email the chamber, and I will send to you, there's a new model for change that I think is pretty cool. 7 stages. I have a self-evaluation for you to be reflective as to where you are today as it relates to change. And maybe after you implement some of these strategies, start thinking and viewing change differently, then maybe in a few months, retake the evaluation, do another self-assessment, and see if in fact you score better. And then of course, as always, you've got to want to do something different. And you've got to think differently. I always say that be careful of any new skill set without a different mindset. So, as promised, kept it under a half hour. And I know for some of you are like, really? Rod spoke for less than 30 minutes? I know, hey, it's change, you know, I'm adapting and adopting. So I'm curious if anybody has any questions, if anybody has put anything out on the chat line, if you just want to offer maybe some things that have worked for you. So open it up. Anybody? Crickets, dead silence.
Yeah, Rod, hey, this is Jimmy Pugh.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Rod, number one, I just want to say thank you for your time here and taking the time out of your day to talk with us. I thought that was very insightful. Number two, question for you, what would you say to somebody, who may be optimistic that things could maybe go back to normal sooner than later, especially in this kind of weird time that we're in?
Oh, that's a great question, Jimmy. Let me tell you, oftentimes when I'm writing curriculum or coming up with something to share, it's as much for me as anybody else. And so for most of you, I'm a pretty optimistic person. In fact, maybe even to the extreme, to the idealistic end of that spectrum. And I have to admit, I've been kind of struggling through this whole pandemic because I got stuck in how it used to be. And looking back to maybe your point, Jimmy, to what normal used to be is actually defeating. And it's not a way to thrive through change. In fact, it allowed me to get stuck and get even more frustrated with the current situation. So, boy, looking back, thinking of, man, what if? Can we get back to normal? And I have to admit, even people saying about, the new normal, I don't even know what that is. So for me, it's literally day by day learning to thrive, not just accept the changes and be more positive in the steps rather than in the hope of what it may never become. So I don't know if that helps, Jimmy, if that hits the question.
Yeah, that does. Thanks so much for that.
Anyone else? All right, well, hey, gang, thank you so much. You can now enjoy the rest of your day, have lunch, and look forward to our next time where we can chat. Thank you very much. Enjoy.